Welcome to Budai Studio, home of Triple F, Faith's Fighting Followers. I'm happy to have you here. My name is Steven Speck. I myself am a lifelong combat sports athlete. I began wrestling at age 10 all the way through college. I boxed on the amateur level in my 20s, and it all culminated with a career in mixed martial arts, MMA. My time has come and gone as a competitor, as a practitioner. Now it's my time to give back. This marks the first installment of several in a series to demonstrate the art form of punching, striking hand-to-hand combat. We're going to base this on the core platform of what I would argue to be the most fundamentally sound and valuable four-punch combination in striking, that to be the 1, 2, 3, 6. The left jab, the straight right, the left hook, and the right uppercut. We're going to break that down and progressively build it, starting with the core of it and the origin, that's being the left jab. Every strike we throw, contrary to misconception, stems from our core, namely our legs. Not far different from the art form of throwing. Step, and the arm follows the body. Again, you open the hip, you step forward, and we throw. That motion is very similar to that which you'll find in fighting, in the sense that it all stems from the legs. Our weight is generated or set forth to create leverage on our toes, as opposed to resting on our heels, where we are even unexpectedly or unintentionally in a defensive position. A fighter's stance, you could say, is birthed from a wrestler's stance, or vice versa. Both involve staggering your step. Your feet are a bit beyond shoulder width apart. In the case of a wrestler, in more of a squatted fashion, hands out in front of his first line of defense, we are almost sitting on an imaginary surface, very strong and sturdy. The striker, the boxer, the one punching, is elevated. The knees are still bent, weight still shifted on the toes as opposed to heels. Shoulders square. I want my hands up close to my chin, which is tucked. Reason being, much like wrestling, our hands are our primary mode of defense. With 4-ounce MMA gloves, surface area is not much greater than that of the human hand. So it's important that your hands are in close proximity to your face. Even with a boxing glove, anywhere from 10 to, say, 16 ounces, they're bigger, more like pillows, but if too far distanced from your face, they can be knocked into your own head, or you might not get them there in time to defend quickly enough. So, we keep these close to our chin, with that chin tucked. At any moment, I want to be able to do what's called slice block, or answer the phone. I want to take that hand and forearm and bring to the face and head, almost cupping the back of my own skull with the palm of my hand. No greater defense to cover temples and those other spots of the head, those susceptible to our being sent to dreamland and knocked out, concussed. So back to my fighter's stance. Chin tucked, hands up. The left jab is going to come as a result of this left hip, my lead leg, and its advancement slightly forward. Now, as I teach these 4 punches, I'm going to incorporate a cadence, a step series that is going to be a bit more exaggerated than what will ultimately happen in real action, but it's to help develop your understanding of the timing in this sequence. With the left jab, there will be a step forward with the left leg, and that is from which we're going to generate the power necessary to throw the left jab effectively. The left jab is not a power punch. It is a setup, but especially in a smaller glove, if landing on an appropriate spot on the human head, it could do damage of its own. I'm in my stance. When I throw either the left jab or the straight right, I want these punches to be thrown in a fashion that creates an imaginary string, almost as though the fist is attached to my own chin, so that when I throw it, it's a direct or straight projectile transition from close proximity to my chin to the point of impact where I land. The other piece of the art form that we don't dare neglect is the simple art form of throwing the punch. And that is to dispel the misconception that when you throw a punch, your fist is tightly clenched from origin. That is false on account of the fact that, like any other context in life, if you grip tightly to start, your grip can only weaken from that point on. It is never stronger than that initial clench. So opposite the mindset of many, we don't clench the fist until close to or the actual point of impact, which I'll demonstrate again very shortly. But let's begin by opening with the jab. And I'm going to do so from a couple angles, and I'm also going to do initially without gloves so that you can see the hand through this progression. Fighter stance. What's going to happen in slow motion, first straight on, is going to be my throwing this punch directly off my chin, and as I do so, I'm going to turn my fist over, and it's going to enable my left shoulder to brush against my cheek to keep this punch straight, close, and compact. As I do so, and as I mentioned previously, there's going to be a step with my lead leg, and I'm going to allow my foot slightly to tap on the mat, just as I said, to accentuate that cadence. So in slow motion, boom, boom. If I turn to the side, I'm here in my stance, all in synchronized timing. Left foot steps forward, and it'll touch down or land right as this punch would imaginably be impacting the human face or body. You'll notice that I don't really allow my fist to even to begin clenching till what would be the point of impact. And it's going to turn, allowing that left shoulder to brush my jaw. If you notice, as I'm moving through multiple repetitions, I'm dancing on my toes slightly. That is to keep my feet fluid, my agility nimble, as not to fall into a robotic stance. You are going to initially believe that tightening your entire body is correct, when in actuality, that's the opposite from the body we want to create in striking. The more fluid, the more limber I am, the more natural my movements in striking will be. Draw the analogy, as grim as it is, to a car accident. It's often said that if you are at rest or even unaware of the impact, the injuries you sustain are lesser because your muscles are relaxed. Same is true in fighting. When you are in a car accident and you are clenched and tight right before that point of impact, because all your muscles are contracting, the impact has the tendency to do more damage because it brings them from that tightness and loosens them without your body's will to do so. When I'm moving and punching, I want to be nice and fluid. Also, so that if I take damage in return, my body isn't as tightened up at that point. So I'm here again, chin tucked. When I throw that, I am making certain that I don't allow my elbow completely to lock upon impact either. This is much like weight training exercises where we're taught to control the resistance, the ascent and descent in any given exercise, and not to allow our joints almost to hyperextend. So straight on, again, that looks nice and fluid. Now, to that point regarding the actual throwing of the punch, focusing less on the motion of the jab as a whole, I want you to pay close attention to my fist. I like to use the terms catching the punch, and that is to imply that much like when we catch something, we grab or clench it, you will not clench your fist until that point of impact. So, if I'm here throwing straight arm, focusing on my fist, bang. If you notice, my fists, my hands are open almost fully as the punch progresses and I'm stepping, so too will be the closure of my hand as it rolls, so that when it finally lands, it has been clenched tightly. That, my friends, in essence, is the introduction to the jab. We're going to switch now and glove up so you see the punch thrown again, albeit not hitting an actual target, but with gloves on. And we'll check out.